How's it going, guys?
Good. All right, getting ready for a rematch 7 years in the making. I mean, is that in itself a little bit crazy to you that, you've been at this game so long that you can be looking at a fight from 7 years ago?
Now that you say it, yeah. Didn't really think of it like that. Yeah, I mean, Leon's a tough guy. I always knew that skillful fighter. And I always knew that he would make his way through the division. I didn't know how far he would get, but, he's here now, so we got to deal with him.
Stylistically, obviously, it's going to be, you would think, different. I mean, you guys have both improved greatly since the first meeting. But I just wonder, I mean, in that time, in 7 years, can his wrestling get better than your wrestling? Can your striking get better than his striking? I mean, can those flip on either side, or is this still kind of a similar fight?
Not a similar fight. I think we're both much more experienced, which means we're both going to take our time and be able to, now we could set up kind of what we want to set up and pull out some of the tricks, that we plan to. But one thing for sure, there's a reason wrestling is the hardest sport in the world. 7 years, it can improve greatly. It can improve greatly to where you're utilizing it better, you're defending better with it. But when it comes down to it, let's be honest, he don't want to wrestle with me. And it just doesn't matter. I've been doing this for almost over 20 years, and 7 years, it's not going to get better than mine. It's going to be effective, but it's not going to get better than mine.
Obviously, as we said, stylistically, it's going to be a different fight. I mean, a fight is a fight. But do you think you have, like, a little mental edge over him just for the fact that, like, hey, we did this before, and you know what happened?
Yeah, let's be honest. When it comes down to it at the end of the day, when it's him and I locked in there, if we can shut out everybody, he knows what's going to happen, and I know what's going to happen.
I know sometimes you don't worry so much about legacy, let other people decide that, but tying Anderson Silva's record of most consecutive wins, I mean, is that something, an accomplishment that does stand out to you as like, wow, this is pretty special?
It is. It's a special accomplishment since you guys have brought it to my attention once again, because I didn't know that until, the last week or two. Yeah, it is special. It goes to, it's one of those things that just it lets you know all the work that you've put in over the years and all the training and the guidance from your coaches and your team to get to the point where Anderson Silva was doing the sport before I knew about the sport. And I remember when I started watching the UFC, that was the man. That's the guy to watch. And now, being in a position to be able to tie that record, it means a lot to me.
Last thing for me, you pick up a big win on Saturday. Are you at UFC 279 cage side next month to see who wins that fight and maybe see what your future is, or do you not worry about what else is going on in the division with fights like Hamzat and Nate?
79, that's those two?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think, is it here in the States?
Vegas.
Where?
Vegas.
No, I think what is that, September what? 10th? Yeah, no. Probably be overseas somewhere for a much-needed vacation. And, it's probably Fashion Week. So I got to take my talents to Fashion Week and see what's going on out there.
Kamaru, when you hear people talk about you being the GOAT of the division or even the GOAT of the sport, is it kind of surreal to you to hear that, or is that something that you kind of always expected when you started doing this?
No, it's very, very surreal. And I think that's what sets me apart is in my own head, I know where I'm at. And it's never enough for me. And so, when people are saying some of those things, it's like, oh, that's great. But in my head, I know what's enough. So this is one thing that and I'm sure a lot of people in my position feel the same way. When people say, oh, stay humble, stay humble, stay humble. What? Don't fucking tell me that. I'm humble. I know what humble is. In my own head, I know what humble is. The reason I continue to excel is because I know what humble is. To everyone, they might see you and think, oh, you're becoming that big of a star. Stay humble, stay humble. In my head, I'm still this way. I'm this guy. And so at the end of the day, when I'm naked and I look at myself in the mirror, I'm still the guy that I was when I was 3 years old. So, that's just that. I continue to strive.
So with that in mind, that said, do you feel that you're still chasing GOAT status, or are you defending it at this point?
No, I just want to put one foot in front of the other. As long as I continue, like I've said before, as long as I continue to knock off the next guy and the next guy and the next guy, when I walk away from this sport, all of you guys are going to be like, shit, that dude did some work while he was here.
Yeah. When you say, you talk about being humble and knowing where you are, does it make you laugh then when you hear Leon saying it's gone to your head and you're out here looking like Terry Crews from White Chicks and stuff like that?
That's a good one. That's a good one. It's exactly how I feel. Brother does a movie and everybody say he Hollywood now. But guess what? When I was in college eating $5 Little Caesars pizza and I was surviving off of that for 2 days and eating ramen noodles for the whole week, you know what I did? I dreamt of getting to a point where I didn't have to do that. I could walk into any steakhouse, order whatever I wanted on there. I could tell my mom and dad, hey, you guys want to go there? Got you. Let's go there. You guys want to fly private? Got you. Let's do that. I always dreamt of that, and I wondered. I always wanted that. So I put the work in to get to the point. To get to the point where I always wanted silk shirts. You wear those cotton shirts, you wash them once or twice, shrink on you, Now I can wear silk shirts. I always wanted that. Of course, I put the work in, and I got that. But that doesn't stop me. I want to be bigger than Dwayne Johnson, bigger than him. So that means I need more work. So this notion of when people say, oh, you're Hollywood now, it's going to his head, that thing is ridiculous to me. And if he's thinking that, that's the biggest misconception. It'll be a short night for him come Saturday night.
This mindset you have where you don't really pay attention to the record books and, like, people are bringing them to your attention, have you always been like that, like, dating back to your college wrestling career? Or is it, like, was there a moment where you'd be like, I need to shut all this noise out?
I think it's just growing through time and time again. I remember in high school, I started wrestling in high school. My sophomore year is when I really started competing. And, I wanted to be state champion so bad, to where I trained. And then my senior year, I got beat for third. And I got beat, and I ended up getting third. And I just remember feeling like, oh, I'm a failure. Everyone knows. Everyone's talking about me. Then I go outside. No one gives a shit. No one cares. It's like, okay, what's next? But inside, I was like, what's next? And then you go off to college, and you do the same thing. And then you come into MMA, and I'm going to be honest, it wasn't always like that. MMA is a different animal. Let's say we have the best and worst fans in the world. Let's just be honest. And it was a point where I wanted to, because I didn't get into it to be famous or rich by any means. I wanted to make some money. Take that back. I wanted to make some bread. I wanted some money. But I got into it, and I didn't really care. It wasn't for the people, for fans to like me and people to like me. But then I got into it. I'm like, if I'm doing something that's this hard and people are just talking shit about it, even if you do it, it's not enough. They don't care how well you do it. They still talk shit to you. And it bothered me. And I have to say, it bothered me the most. I fought Emil Mack in St. Louis. And I made a comment after the fight, and which was taken the wrong way. I guess is the way that I said it. And Dana commented on it. And I felt like I lost the fight. I just felt so shitty. I stayed away from social media for a week. And it hurt me so bad that even after a win, that it was really bothering me this bad in the backlash. And so, I took some time off, and then in that process of healing, I just matured so much. And in the last 3-4 years, I've grown exponentially mentally. And it's just a point where I don't really give a shit. Like, why am I going to worry about this dude on his keyboard saying this, tweeting this? When, bro, you don't pay my bills. My daughter got to go to school. You don't pay for her lunch. I ate free lunch at school. My daughter eats private school lunch now. Somebody got to pay for that. So if they're not doing it, why am I worried about their opinion? So, it took a lot of growing. And I'm sure, I'm sure my brother now is in a position to where he's coming into the UFC, and he hasn't really experienced what MMA fans are. So I'm sure me and him are going to be having a talk here and there soon. Yeah, what to expect.
And I know you don't listen to people who say on the internet, but the man you're fighting on Saturday was in here earlier, and he said compared to your last 4 or 5 opponents, he's by far the best striker, and he'd even put himself the top of the division as overall striking. So I'm curious where you rate him among your past opponents over the last few years.
I think he's, like I said, he's the next guy up. So he's the biggest, baddest dude. According to everybody, he's the biggest, baddest dude. And I think skill-wise, he's very, very, very good. But when Masvidal was up here. Come on, we were singing this different tune. He's the most dangerous striker. He's never been finished. He's slick. He's nice, which he is. Very, very good striker. And, you know, they were singing that tune. And we all saw what Masvidal did to him over there in London, you know. And, hey, it is what it is. If that makes him feel better, that's fine. Whether you're a striker, whether you're a wrestler, whether you're a grappler, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I have one thing that they all don't have, and that is the ability to go out there and get the win.
And for a while, a lot of the welterweight division contenders weren't really fighting, especially in the top 5. You were just going down the list, but they weren't really fighting each other.
Still ain't fighting.
But now we have Bilal Muhammad fighting Sean Brady, Hamzat's fighting Nate, Jeff Neal picked up big wins. So now as the champion, there's at least some.
What's that guy ranked that you said that's fighting?
Jeff Neal?
No, the other guy. That's
Hamzat?
Nate.
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 Hamzat.
What's Nate? What's Nate ranked?
Unranked.
Okay. So a lot of them are fighting, right? Who's one? Who's number 1?
I think it's still Colby.
Okay, is he fighting?
No.
Who's number 2?
I think Gilbert still.
Is he fighting? Who's number 3?
Leon.
Okay. 4. Okay.
6 is Wonder Boy.
Is he fighting? 7. So these guys just got to sit there and wait for me to call their number, and they'll fight. So, I mean, this is the thing with contenders. The next guy. That's you guys' job to build them up, you know, and that's great because it's good for me. But the reason these guys are fighting is because I'm fighting. You know, we're active. You know, my coaches are staying busy because we have to continuously train for all these guys. We did it 3 times last year. I mean, champions aren't really doing that besides myself, Izzy, and you know, who's really doing that.
Since we're on the topic of potential next people, Dana did say last night, you know, kind of the rare thing. He said, I'll say if Hamzat wins, that's probably fair to say he'll be next for Kamaru if he wins. If that lines up, you know, he'd be undefeated, coming off a win over Nate Diaz. You would be going for the sole possession of the winning streak record. Do you feel like this could be like a super gigantic fight between the two of you?
I think any fight that I fight next is going to be a gigantic fight. I've already stated that I wanted that light heavyweight belt. You know, for a lot of people it's crazy, but a lot of things seem crazy until it's done. And so, hey, I stated that I wanted it. After this win, you know, Dana and I will sit down and we'll have a conversation.
Is that something you're actually going to broach? Like, hey, this could be the time to do 205. Do you feel like the time?
Like, why
right?
you guys think I kid when I come up here? I usually laugh when I'm kidding, you know. But if I'm not kidding, and everyone thought I was playing with the whole Canelo situation, I wasn't. Hey, I really wanted that. It's something that I wanted. You know, it didn't come to fruition then. You know, who knows what the future holds? But that light heavyweight belt, you know. I'm not saying I will run through the division. Now, don't get me wrong. But at the top, I think I can get it done.
Is there any other wants in your life and career that you want to reveal to us?
Wants, and like I just said it, I want to be bigger than Dwayne Johnson. So, and I want his bankroll too. So.
And one question for you. You know, Nate Diaz, he's fighting Hamzat. This is probably going to be his last fight in the UFC. What do you think the legacy he leaves behind in the sport is, or in the UFC?
2 scrappers, a gamer. He's always a gamer. He was always a scrapper himself and his brother. You know, I respect all everybody who's willing to get in here, to train and get in here and compete and have success. Like, I respect everyone, and I respect him and his brother. You know, unfortunately, we didn't get to, you know, step in there and duke it out together. But, you know, our full respect to them, and, you know, more power to him, and good luck with him and in his future career.
And last thing from me, I know the time off is largely being due to the hand and stuff, but at the press conference or your last fight, you had that really powerful quote about wanting to spend time with your daughter and kind of, you know, attend that part of your life. How, you know, significant has that been during this time off, and how refreshed do you maybe feel due to, you know, spending that time with her?
It's crazy. That's a good question. It's crazy because it's a double-edged sword. Because that's my world. I want to spend a ton of time with her. But while I'm home and I'm spending, I literally was a soccer dad. I'm telling you, I'm getting up at 6 a.m., getting her ready, dropping her off at school, and then, you know, I go train and come back and do a couple of things in the house. I'm kind of a clean freak, so I'm cleaning the house, do a couple of things. Then it's 2:30, time to go pick her up again, pick her up from school. Now it's her time. Got to drive her to tennis practice, then pick her up, make dinner, and all this. So I was pretty much doing that for a while. But after a while, it's like, damn, I'm kind of bored here. It's time to beat somebody up already. So, it's a double-edged sword. I miss her greatly. Now being in Denver, I miss her a lot, and she's getting to the point now where she's 8 going on 13. So, slick mouth, slick girl, but she's amazing, and one of the smartest girls ever. So, I can't wait till Sunday. And if most of you don't know, this is my favorite part about this whole thing. At first, when I started my career, was, of course, I wanted to compete, beat these guys. Yeah, that was great. But I have to be honest, my favorite part now, and I'm not kidding, I'm not selling no story, my favorite part is on Sunday. When I get to fly home with her, when we get into the house and we walk into our house, that is my favorite part right now about doing this sport. All this leading up, it's tough, it's hard, it's draining because I still got this weight to cut and I still got to perform on Saturday. But on Sunday, after that victory and we fly home and we walk into our house, it's a feeling that I live for now.
Kamaru down here in front. You're speaking about 205, and I know that you said that we think that you're kidding because, I think it's because no one's ever done that before. It would be an unprecedented thing. What does that look like, and do you have a plan for it? Like, do you have, like, an idea of, like, okay, I'm going to move up, I'm going to put on weight? Like, what does that look like?
I need to put on the weight. Like, people don't understand what my death grip is like. I'm trying to get around you. I don't care whether you're heavyweight, 205. These guys understand where my strength is. But I'll leave that up to I have an idea of what I want to do in a fight. But I leave that up to my coaches. Trevor, what he can dial up. George, some of the tricks that they want to dial up, and Ben, and how we want to approach that. But, I have an approach of how I want to fight those fights in my head, which usually comes out when everything else is failing in the fight. I just fuck it. I just go to however I want to fight it, I'm going to fight it. I'm going to try the coach's way. Yeah, I'm going to try it. This is what y'all dialed up. I'm going to do it. But if everything's failing, fuck it. Let's just go.
Being bigger than The Rock, being bigger than Dwayne Johnson, how do you get there? What's the path there?
Oh, I don't know. That's why I guess this is a journey of life, right? I don't know. I didn't know how to get here. I didn't know. I remember sitting in the apartment in Colorado Springs, and I watched John Jones win the light heavyweight title out of Shogun, and I was like, oh, shit. I know John. I want to go do that. I think I want to do that sport. I had no idea what that roadmap's going to look like, and I don't have any idea what the roadmap's going to look like. But, nowadays I'm around some people who have better insight on what that looks like. And, I'm starting to do a little acting now. So so hopefully one day we'll get there.
And that's what I want to ask you about. What can you tell us about Black Panther?
I can tell you it's different. Well, first and foremost, it's a different field. That acting it ain't easy. It's a different field. Standing around for 14 hours a day, that's not easy at all. Newfound respect for all those actors, but I was just blessed to be able to be on set with some amazing actors and actresses. And it's we all watch movies and we see them act and we're like, I could do that. But then you get there, it's like, oh shit, this is harder than I thought. So a lot of respect for them. I think it's going to be an incredible movie. Director Ryan Coogler, an amazing director, and I think you never know what they cut at the end. So hopefully my scenes stay in there. So fingers crossed. But if they cut it the way that they know how, I think it's going to be a fantastic movie. I think it's going to take you on an emotional roller coaster. But all in all, fantastic. Marvel don't usually miss, so we'll see.
Thanks, man.
Kamaru,
All the DC fans don't come at me.
Kamaru, just on that point, speaking of acting, did you see Dean Thomas's impersonation of you?
I did see it.
What'd you think?
It's hilarious. He don't look quite like me, but it's hilarious.
Come on, another one over here. You've mentioned that story of you seeing John win the title, and then that kind of inspired you to pursue this MMA. If he came back down to 205 and you were up there, is that a fighter that you would not want to fight just based on your friendship?
Hey, we gotta chill with these scenarios now. John is John. He's big as hell. He's big as hell, which is why he can easily make that transition to light heavyweight. If the money's right, I'll try my luck. But John is great. John is a fantastic competitor and definitely in that conversation is the best ever.
Yeah. And on Saturday, there's also another Nigerian fighting. Anthony Joshua's fighting Usyk rematch. So I'm curious what you make of that fight.
I know Joshua switched camps for this fight. I'm hoping, the preparation is there. Like I mentioned earlier, when we go into as fighters, we all have an idea of how we want to fight. But when we go into fights, there's a reason we have coaches and we trust in their opinion. And I think Joshua tried to do that the first fight, But if it's not working, fuck it, we got to fight. You bring out that Nigerian dog and you go out there and get the win somehow. So I'm hoping he has that mentality and that attitude. And if he does, we could see the belts come back to him.
You mentioned your brother briefly the other night when he earned that contract. First, how proud of his accomplishment, how nerve-wracking, if there were any nerves for you, and what's the possibility in the future we see two Usmans holding belts up there?
I mean, it's been, first and foremost, it's been a while since I cornered someone. A few months. I think the last one really that I felt, Francis' fight was great. I think when Francis won the belt, it kind of felt like that. Sometimes you just get filled with so much adrenaline and so much joy to where I mess around and fuck my knee up trying to jump up there on that thing. So it's, you're just filled with so much joy. You just explode with all of that. And, I mean, it was a great and amazing feeling to see him get that success because he's been at this for a little while, just a little bit now, and he still has a long way to go. But, Francis as well is my brother, so hopefully we are out of the sport before all these young guns start coming after us. So, we want to get in the sport, make the biggest splash ever, make our money, and walk away before some of these, time waits for no man. So when these young guns come up there and they try to challenge us, hopefully we out of the way.
And lastly, as a guy that's never owned a silk shirt, you mentioned the cotton shrinks. Does the silk not shrink?
It's nice. It's nice. You feel this on the skin, you never go back. But I still rock with the cotton though. So, cotton, whoever, fabric of our lives, So, I'll cut a promo for you. So, call my manager, Ali Abdelaziz. We could do something. I still rock with cotton though. I train with it.
Appreciate you, champ.
Kamaru, front row on your right.
Yeah.
As someone who's actually familiar with the Mountain Time Zone, what was your reaction to finding out that 278 was coming to Salt Lake City and that you'd be headlining here for the first pay-per-view in Salt Lake City ever?
Initially, I was like, okay, but at the end of the day, my paycheck doesn't really change. It stays the same. So, we just get to come out here and give Salt Lake City a treat. And if this fight goes anything like I'm imagining, we're going to give them a tremendous fight that they will never forget in Salt Lake City.
I was speaking to Steve Styler, former UFC fighter who was on Team Mayhem on The Ultimate Fighter back in the day. He was referencing, you being an assistant coach on that team, kind of learning MMA, seeing you put on the gloves for the first time. His words were, you were not the lion then yet that you would become. When you think back to those early days, what got you kind of through your beginning in the UFC to the point where you are now?
First of all, shout out to Steven Siler. I mean, tough kid, tough dude. I think we managed him at some point too, didn't we, Ali?
Yes.
Yeah, Steven Siler, good fighter, really, really good fighter. I always had the lion inside. The only thing was, it came out in different forms. If you ever see me in certain wrestling matches, I bring the dog out. But in MMA, it's a little different. You got to learn how to kind of hone that lion. It's kind of what we're about over in Denver at Onyx with Trevor. What hones you on the inside. The lion's always been in there. Just got to have to hone it and be able to be in a position and finding a way to bring it out when it's necessary. We saw in those, especially in that first Covington fight, I was battling a lot physically and mentally going into that fight. But, hey, when it calls for time to bring that dog and that lion out, I'm pretty good at finding them.
Real quick, I just wanted to say we're super excited for this fight, given that it's our first big fight ever here in Salt Lake. What are your impressions so far of our city?
I love the Midwest. I love the Salt Lake. Well, I guess Mountain Time. So, but you guys are close enough.
Yeah.
You guys that. But I love it here. I love it in Nebraska, in Colorado. I love all these cities because it's not the biggest, but it's not the smallest. It's just enough for everyone. And I love the people, good people, with good values and good, just homegrown. And that's what's important to me, especially now being in the age where I was at. Now, if you ask me this question at 23, I want to be in Miami. But, these are kind of the things that are important to me now, family and, a good environment to be able to raise family and just be a good human.
And do you think training in Denver, where the elevation's even higher, is going to give you an edge on this fight?
I don't know. What gives me an edge is my will, and when push come to shove, and we start digging, both of us, we all know my shovel's bigger than everybody in the division. Thank you guys. Appreciate you all.